All right, Council Club, welcome. It is November 18th. There was not a meeting last week, so we don't have anything to cover from that meeting, which is good because this is the fattest agenda that we've seen in a long time. There's like 100 and some items, and there's just a lot. I think maybe before we do jump into this, we should talk about what did happen last Tuesday, which was a council summit. So Lincoln City Council came up to Omaha to chat with Omaha City Council. They met at the Cottonwood Hotel. And I guess it was a 6-hour meeting, which seems very long. We did not go. But I'm hoping that maybe Omaha can learn some things from Lincoln. Some of the highlights, we already know that Lincoln is making progress on their climate action plan. Affordable housing was brought up, mass transit, situation about catalytic converter theft. And then we actually do end up seeing a lot of those issues on next week's agenda. So do you want to talk about your age?
Yeah, so there was, I think KETV and WOWT, local news stations, had some video from the summit. And I don't know much about Lincoln City Council, but James Michael Bowers was on camera. And he just looked like a young, fresh-faced kid. And I was like, wow, what a... And so I looked into it. He's 32 years old. And I'm sure this didn't get brought up during the summit, but one of the things that that I think Omaha could learn from Lincoln is don't have people like Pete Festerson on the city council for 16 years. Get some fresh new ideas in there. And so just a comparison, the youngest city council member in Omaha is Vinny Palermo. He is 47 years old. And then I just kind of went on a
rabbit hole.
Yeah, rabbit hole. The mayor of Lincoln, mayor of Lincoln is 50 years old. Gene Stothard is 67. The longest serving council member in Lincoln was in 2015. Our longest serving council member was Festerson in 2009. Elected, yeah. And so it's just an interesting to how they just have just a different style of representation and leadership.
The term limits were interesting too.
Yeah, so I remember when the term limits, I do remember hearing that in Lincoln in 2018, they were limited to 3, but none for the city council. They're talking about it, but down in Lincoln, but nothing in Omaha. And it was actually a Republican-led term limits in 2018. I think it's a ballot initiative. So, it'd be great to get some younger people and not have a mayor for 16 years. So yeah.
Indeed. Good. All right. We did talk a little bit, I guess, right at the very beginning before we record. The library board met tonight and did vote to approve the memorandum of understanding between Heritage Services and the Omaha Public Library to kind of move forward. It's not binding or whatever, but passing this resolution apparently is going to bring it all out into the open, according to one of the board members. We'll see. We're definitely continuing to follow that. And I think regardless of what people think, the thing that is hard to argue against is the fact that there has not been much in the way of transparency or communication. When open records requests have to be filed in order to figure out some of what's going on, and these items have code names, it's just like, come on, give us a little bit of credit, and don't act like everything's on the up and up, because if it were, you'd be communicating more publicly and it wouldn't need code names. So we'll see what happens with that. Apparently there was some good testimony, and some folks were kind of calling out Heritage Services and just talking about how basically it is a way for the bazillionaires of Omaha to strong arm the public into getting what they want and then benefiting further financially from it. I don't know. There's a lot going on. We will not spend too much time on that because we're going to jump into the agenda for next week. So, real quick, I guess folks that are following the Gold Coast project, I did just actually publish Mode Shift's statement today on our website. We can't support the project enthusiastically. Mostly, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but Mode Shift specifically has issues with the amount of parking and the fact that we're knocking down 21 affordable units and only supposedly replacing them with 10. So read that if you want the full statement there. Apparently that will be coming up on the December 7th agenda for the first time, and then might get laid over a little bit. I got a tip from somebody about that. I don't fully understand what is happening or why. We already know we'll have 2 layovers, but we'll be continuing to follow that.
Usually things go into the non-action and it'll say lay it over for public engagement, lay it over.
Yeah.
But I read non-action and it wasn't in there. So.
Yeah. We'll be following it.
So it'd be like 2021 by the time, I'm sorry, 22 in January by the time it actually comes in front of city council. It sounds like.
Probably. Okay, so the 23rd is the next meeting, this coming Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving. We will not be meeting next Thursday. It's Thanksgiving, and we just all probably are ready for a break. I'll speak for myself. I'm ready for a break, so we will not see you next Thursday. All right, item number 7, Youth Emergency Services is actually going to be looking for a replat at their facility at 27th and Mary to allow for group living. Number 17 is another group living request that was actually, speaking of layovers, it was laid over because Councillor Johnson wanted to speak with some more of the neighborhood. But that was, again, the women's only kind of rehabilitation group living situation on North 60th Ave. So we'll see if that passes this time. All right, moving right along. 27 through 70 is all up for public hearing. There was, started off 28 through 32 is a bunch of lotto agreements.
Hey, can I, you skipped over liquor, which is fine.
Yeah.
But 2 interesting liquor things is Jaipur and Dundee. It's going to be next to Scout. It used to
Scout's
be
gone.
Yeah, so Scout's gone, but it's across the street from the pizza place. It used to be Paradigm.
It's been a bunch of different
like
things.
3 things.
So.
But Jaipur, if you don't know, is really good Indian food. So we're getting one in Dundee, and they're asking for a liquor license. And then the other one was a micro distillery.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen a class, is it a Z?
Yeah.
Class Z liquor. And that one's actually kind of by the Saddle, well, not by the Saddle Creek Breakfast Club, but
it's on North 42nd Street. That's not by Saddle Creek.
yeah, when I made the map, but yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of, but yeah, class. So they're going to be distilling, which is different than brewing. It's a micro distillery. So that's the first time we've seen a class Z. It'll be interesting, and it's near some homes. I wonder if there's I know that brewing beer, you have to get a permit from the EPA because it generates a lot of, is it carbon? It generates a lot of emissions, and they actually pollute a lot. You wouldn't think that a brewery. So yeah, there's houses right across the street on 42nd.
Interesting. By the Sundown Tattoo. Yeah, that's a kind of a funky little area.
But I think with distilling, the big problem with that is, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some emissions, but it blowing up. I feel like, you always hear about moonshine stills blowing up. So it'll be interesting to hear if there's any opposition from that. And I've just heard, I think it was Brickway Distillery was saying how hard it is, or it's almost impossible. You have to do like a catch-22 reverse switcheroo, that if you want to have a distillery, you first have to prove that you know what you're doing. And so you basically have to build this distillery first, and then you get a license. It's completely backwards, but there's not many. That's one of the reasons there's not many distilleries in Omaha. Okay, that was it.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, 42nd and like Decatur-ish, kind of a funky little area. All right. Where were we? Okay. So if anyone wants to talk about snow maintenance issues, 33 and 34 would give you that opportunity. It's for purchasing skid loaders and snow blowers and snow blades. I'm sure we'll hear something from Palermo about Public Works. 35 is more than $6 million for sewer gas conditioning system for the Papio Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility. Don't fully know what that is, except for it's a lot of money and it involves more waterway issues. It was in the CIP, I guess, I noticed. More about sewers. 36 is going to be for some sewer cleaning work to the tune of $400,000, more than that, a little bit. Excuse me. More when we talk about sewers and sewer separation projects on the Papio Creek North. 37 is a change order for additional work. Sometimes when they do change orders, again, Palermo will bring up, I don't know, something about Public Works. I like how he picks on Public Works. 38 is a concrete pavement repair inspection at 96th and L. So I just feel like a lot of those issues will be where, I don't know, we might hear about bagging on public works. We'll see. All right. 39 is for some landscaping. They're actually going to bring 11 different streets kind of in North Omaha between like, I guess, Brown Street to Fort along North 14th. This is just an agreement with Olson to kind of do some preliminary design work, but it involves, it will affect, I just pulled this number, 52 driveways will be affected. So 52 homeowners will be aware of what's going on, but they're going to be dealing with some stormwater management and then bring up the roads to standard. 41 is another $100,000 for some more sewer issues. That one is a contract with HDR. And then just letting more folks in. I don't know who this Deborah McClung is. Hopefully it's not going to be a Zoom bomb. We'll see. And then here, lead remediation. We talk about that a lot. You know, it's on a lot of different agendas. Between 46 and 48, there's a bunch more properties that are going to be being handled. Oh, I skipped 44, which is $4 million in resurfacing. It's agreement between Omaha and MAPA. Then actually kind of some interesting news, although most of it's out west, but 49 to 56 is not quite $3 million, all in parks improvements. So that's kind of exciting, but again, it is pretty much all out west.
And all in SID, sanitary and improvement districts. So outside of city limits, but you said that the money comes, the 2.3 million comes from this SID fund?
I think so. I was going to try to pull that up again and look, but I think that, and again, as usual, we don't know half the time what we're talking about. We're just sharing these items for discussion. So if you know something about this, hop in at any time. But yeah, I think let me look at the actual agenda.
Because first comes before annexation, it's first becomes an SID.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yeah, I think so. And that's usually the pathway to annexation is usually it starts with an SID. But I think that, let me find here.
Trails and Boulevard Fund. Okay. Trails and Boulevard Fund.
This one was from the SID fund. So I guess it kind of just depends on which item. But so for example,
and I think this Iron Bluff SID, I could not find that. It's the only one I could not find on the map. So I think these are.
I searched for Iron Bluff and I think it's like 192nd and.
I was able to. So I was looking specifically on an SID map.
Oh, I gotcha.
Because all these SID numbers 617, 613, I was able to find all of them except that one. So I think the map is outdated. Okay. But it's outside city limits. But
well, and that's how most SIDs start. You know, like before they get annexed, they are not technically within city limits. So part of the cost associated with annexation and SIDs and all of it is like there are agreements made that they have to have park infrastructure in some of these SIDs. And so I guess that's what a lot of what we're seeing. My issue with some of these is like they're widening the paths through some of these areas or sidewalks or whatever by 1 foot from 5 feet to 6 feet. So it's like, why would we not just make an effort to make them maybe 8 feet wide or something that's actually usable, you know,
or 14.
Yeah, or 14, like we just saw in Council Bluffs with their Avenue 1 project, which is really exciting.
Do we have anything in Omaha, any trail or sidewalk that's 14 feet wide? We were on one today, we thought was 8.
Yeah.
It felt wide. We passed a bicyclist coming and it was like, no problem.
Yeah.
14 feet, man.
Yeah, 14 feet is.
Way to go, Council Bluffs.
Yeah. Inspirational, world class is what they're deciding it is, which good for them. But yeah, so a lot of these are like asking for wider trails by 1 foot, 5 foot to 6 foot, which is not terribly exciting, but I don't know, just things that we're noticing. Item 51 is for still more of this park situation. It's 180th between Maple and Blondo, and that's going to have a new playground. I noticed a typo.
Where?
Right here. Pedal picnic. I'm assuming it meant to say metal picnic shelter, but they wrote pedal picnic shelter. I'm hoping maybe it's like flowers. I doubt it. Yeah, I'm sure it's metal picnic shelter. Pickleball courts, very exciting. Workout station, and then of course a parking lot. So that's over $1 million just for that one area, which is at 180th and Maple. Yeah. And then another one here, and this is from the SID fund, Wingate Ranch. Again, 204th between Pacific and Center. Again, concrete walks, a bench,
It's so
basketball
weird that it's
court.
Douglas County Bond Fund,
Yeah.
Douglas County SID.
SID.
So this is Omaha City Council.
Mhm.
Yeah, weird. You think that would be on there?
Although I think the council has to approve SIDs. Yeah, I don't know. Once again, we don't know everything. Hardly anything most days, it feels like. All right, another one at Tranquility Park. Again, they're going to be doing some playground upgrading. And this one's actually removing and replacing all of the existing playground equipment. That's about $500,000 there. The only one, well, here's another one that's also at 168th and Fort for kind of some similar things. Trail and Boulevard improvements on that one, which, okay, good. And then there is one for one of the smaller amounts, about 200,000 at Sorensen Parkway and State Street, which that one's going to involve volleyball courts, picnic tables, benches, trash receptacles. Today we were riding through Memorial Park, and I was thinking, why aren't there recycling receptacles at parks? There's only trash. I think there should be recycling. We're going to get to the climate action thing in a minute, but it was just making me realize, like, why is that not a thing that's at parks? I feel like anytime there's a trash can on public property, it should be accompanied by a recycling facility, which I did get a picture of the 2 new recycling facilities at City Hall by the county dude, who was like, I thought you'd want to see that we got these installed. And I was very excited. There are only 2 of them, but it is more than none. And I also emailed Jim Tyler, the public works guy, who I originally was communicating with about this issue. And I was like, do you think this was already in the works? And like, I just had good timing. And he said, no, it's because no one had pushed them before. So I do feel jazzed about that.
The ribbon cutting will be Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
You're
Yes.
hilarious.
We're definitely doing ribbon cutting.
Apparently we're definitely doing a tiny hilarious.
It's going to be a recycled ribbon. Yes. And you're going to put a LaCroix
My
can.
LaCroix, as I'm drinking
You're going
now,
to put a LaCroix
this
can
will
in there.
go, yeah. Moving right along. All right. So that is kind of all the park stuff, I think. Oh, and then there's 45 grand that they're going to be paying to Lowe's for construction and maintenance supplies for the Parks Department. So that was kind of a lot for parks, which I like. There was an article a while ago about how they're going to make some new parks upgrades fully inclusive, which never used the words fully inclusive. That's not possible. So we did push back a little bit with the Parks Department and quizzed him about where he's getting some of his playground equipment and that sort of thing. So we'll kind of be following a little bit with that, but they're making some efforts. So,
and just to recap, we're on consent agenda at this point. So this, what is the consent agenda numbers? Meaning, like,
I think it's like 47 through 70 or something like that.
Wow.
Or even 27.
So that'll go pretty
70.
quick. 27 through 70. Blah. So all 50 of those items are going to be, there's going to be one hearing and one vote.
And there it goes.
I bet you they're going to separate one of them, or they're going to pull something. That's
like what?
I don't know.
Yeah, none of them to me. Maybe they'll let the parks director, maybe they'll be like, Kelsevich, you're getting a lot of money. Would you like to tell us how great your parks are? Which, fine. Okay, we will wait and see. But yeah, for the most part, they just, like, if no one speaks about it to the extent that they feel it's worth pulling anything from, they'll just whoosh right on along.
There's lots of times where no one speaks about anything on the consent agenda, or
and
anything.
It's millions of dollars, and it's just like, there it goes, no discussion, rubber stamp it, which we'll see. So yeah. All right. So that was park stuff. Where else? Oh, 59 is for some flood silt removal. We're still dealing with the floods from years ago.
Is that the park in North?
59.
Freedom Park. Where's that?
Yeah, that's up. Yeah, it's up north.
That's what I was thinking. I thought that's when you talked about, Mark, where I think they were using inorganic fertilizer, and I remember you brought up how it's going to flood again, and so stop using FEMA money to rebuild what we know is in a floodplain. So,
and this is a FEMA reimbursement.
How much money?
To the tune of, it's only like 40 grand. Yeah, not even $37,250
basically to remove all the silt at Freedom Park
from the 2019 floods. Yeah. Anywho, all right. Then we're just upping our dues for number 60 to the League of Cities, National League of Cities. I don't really know what that gets us, but $21,000 will go to them. Oh, and then we are from the City of Omaha to the Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce paying $175,000 for, what did they call it? It had a fancy name, Prosper Omaha. And it's all dedicated to economic development stuff east of 72nd, which I just thought was interesting that they.
It's not, no, that's not true. It's part of it. But if you read the attachment, one thing on page 11 of the attachment, so
Okay.
they 2022 Prosper Omaha budget, which is, it's a project within the Omaha Chamber of Commerce. It shows the budget and shows all their revenue. And so they get a ton, most of the revenue is from, businesses. They've got lots of, they list all the donors on the website. Pretty much any big business in Omaha donates some, lots of money. Anyway, but so this is like a tiny portion of their entire budget, like $175,000 to the city. But anyway, we're spending it. And if you look at their expenses, they got the salaries. Okay, the $2.2,700,000. Fringe benefits is $572,000. What are those fringe benefits? I wonder what they are. What's the salary? Like you can see, like if you go to the Chamber of Commerce, like it lists who the director of this project is, and then who else is involved is just the chairman and stuff like that. Well, how many employees, like what does this salary cover? I want to know exactly like who's working on, like, let's get like, we need more details on this. And then what are the fringe benefits? Like seriously. And I know that Omaha, this isn't like, we're only giving 175,000 of this entire revenue, which is again, small, but this is again, one of those things that you talk to Vinny, if you mention Vinny, how many more kids do you think we could get in Pace baseball? 170,000, because on this same agenda, we're giving 100,000 to Pace. Well, Vinny, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or Melton, like all this stuff, like, well, let's just make sure the money's been spent right. Cause I'm sure like Amy Melton, I'm sure she reads every single page of it, which is a bold-faced lie.
Yeah. Good points. Thank you, Mark. Going deep. Yeah, no, I had not actually gotten to this page of it. You're right. That's fringe benefits. It's interesting to just see it like as a line item.
And Prosper, they were the ones that came up with We Don't Coast. Like, so it's that whole, it's basically trying to get people, and they're not doing a very good job. The chamber does a poor job, in my opinion.
I think like part of the other thing with the chamber, like the Connect Go stuff, I don't think that's bad. I think they've done some good studies, but then once again, it's like, does the city of Omaha actually do anything with all of this work that they're paying them to do? I don't know. We could probably have a lot of conversation.
Yeah, we ran into Steve Osberg tonight, and that's what I wanted to ask him, be like, what's the disconnect between the Connect Go, these great plans that Connect Go is coming up with, and actual
action?
Yeah, like tangible, like where's the disconnect? Because
that's just it. There's, whether it's MAPA doing great studies, or all these different entities are doing all of these surveys and studies and listening sessions, and it's like then they just kind of like loft them up to the city of Omaha, who does a whole lot of nothing, it seems like. And that was what we were at the Bike Walk Nebraska open house for a minute earlier, and it was just like a bunch of people that have been having the same flipping conversation for over a decade, and we're still like, oh, okay, how about that pilot project? It's rough. Studies only do so much if you don't have the political willpower to actually take them to the actionable steps level, which is why I'm skeptical about this flipping climate action plan, because like, how about just like action now? I know I'm sure there needs to be some plan, but like, can't we be taking steps already from what we've learned, or hopefully should be able to learn from countless other communities that are making real strides in this arena? Probably not. I hope I'm wrong.
I think we really need to stress that point in like every comment, or like tie anything you can to that, because yes, they're going to pass that. They want the planning department to have a climate action plan done by January 1st, 2023. Well, that's over a year from now. And I know that's really ambitious for how the snail of a pace the government really generally works at. Sure. But there's still things right now, that's a recognition that things need to be done. There's still things in their power that they can be doing in the interim, like they should read the Lincoln Climate Action Plan and start to mirror some of the stuff that they do. Yes. But anyway, 69 would be an example, and number 69 would be an excellent example to bring up the climate action plan, because that is, look at the amount of that money. That is phase one of a 9-phase project. Now, not all 9 phases of the project are going to be in the city of Omaha's like because the Tom's Creek goes up north past, anyway. But that's a 9-phase project, and it's anyway, like they could, yeah, and that's directly related to what I spoke to the other week, because less than a half a mile from where they're cleaning up the creek right here is where, again, Mayor Southwick's biggest donor is still damaging the creek. And so they're paying all this money to fix the creek upstream, but then about half a mile downstream, it's a horrible situation. And I did drive by there the other day. It's still terrible.
That's Swain Construction, I believe you're talking about, Mark.
Yeah. Correct. On Blair High Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good times. All right. Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about the Latino Center of the Midlands. They're getting $70,000 for the Pathways to Success program. That's good. Hopefully that's good. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I think something's good and then don't really know what's going on, but I do like the idea of that. And then there's another $30,000 to the D2 Center. It involves like helping kids graduate a youth attendance navigator program.
And that's the name is called D2.
Yeah, D2 Center,
Okay.
which I didn't really, again, there's a bazillion things on this and we just kind of jumped into it like, I don't know, with not enough time to dig into all this, but $711,000 for the Heartland Workforce Solutions for a work readiness program is item 64. We kind of alluded to $100,000 for PACE. Again, that's cops playing sports with kids. $100,000 there. That's item 65.
Can I ask Mark, what are your feelings on PACE, Mark? I know you've got some young boys. Would you let them play basketball with a police officer?
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings on PACE, but they do a really good job and they do fill a very important gap in especially South Omaha so generally, yes, they do a fantastic job. Like there's opportunities that they provide for kids in the city that otherwise wouldn't exist. And then these kids are matriculating, like going up to high school and playing at the OPS high schools and then getting scholarships for soccer. Like there's, numerous success stories of kids that have got college scholarships in soccer and otherwise that they wouldn't have been able to afford to play youth sports with the way the youth sports system works.
I think I've seen pictures of cops police playing basketball in full uniform with their gun. I think that's just like maybe not part of PACE. I think when in PACE, they take the gun off. Something about playing a basketball with a gun, it always strikes me as odd. But I think PACE, maybe they take the gun or they put the guns down for a brief moment.
We can hope.
Don't get me started on paying police officers to do like traffic for events and stuff like that, because again, that's just like inflates their budget because it goes to staffing, which is their biggest budget item is staffing. But again, then that just pads the overtime and stuff like that when they're just waving cards with batons. Well, guess what? You could have a civilian traffic force within that's like fully trained, and you don't need to carry a gun or this or that to do traffic. Anyway, so yeah.
I have a lot of feelings about taking armed officers out of traffic stops in general, because we know, we could.
Is Operation Nets, is that something different? Am I thinking of
nets?
Operation Nets, like basketball nets?
Oh, I don't know about it.
Maybe it's somewhere else. I feel like that's where the cops give a basketball net to a homeowner or something. Maybe a different community.
Sounds great. All right, we're gonna keep rolling.
Yep.
Item 66 for Keep Omaha Beautiful, their trees program, $25,000. 67 is another $100,000 to the Santa Francis House for some rehousing initiatives. We are actually, MoChipped is doing a Cranksgiving event with donations going to the Santa Francis House and Omaha Autonomous. If anybody's feeling generous, show up between 11 and 2 on Saturday, drop off what you can. We'll be distributing it to those folks at the Millwork Commons area. Okay, item 68 was weird. It's for Symphony Workforce Development. It's $50,000 for like their youth engagement program called Find the Why. There was another typo there. I'm not going to dive into it, but I think it's because I have a journalism degree and I'm very critical about typos. But anyway, something about the symphony and trying to get folks younger folks involved and excited about that.
You should send them to the clerk. Be like, hey, just noticed these 2 ones, just to get on her good side. And she probably would thank you. She probably appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll think about it. Okay. 69 is that $280,000 that Mark was talking about from the Environmental Trust for the Thomas Creek situation, stabilizing the banks and whatnot, just creek improvements. Oh, the Jag Grant. We see the Jag Grant on pretty much every agenda. This is another $50,000 to the police from this Edward Burns Justice blah 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 grant, $50,000 for hotspot operations. They don't really have to get into details a lot of times. I didn't read through every page of that one either, but there's that. 71 through 73, UP, Union Pacific, and some right-of-way issues. They're going to be, I guess, rebuilding kind of part of a roadway on, I believe it was Douglas, but Councilor Johnson will probably recuse herself from that vote because she works for UP. That is about the end of all of that. Then 74 is an affordable housing action plan, which great, pretty late to the table on that one, but I guess we're doing it. Same with the climate action plan, which is 75. So those are both available for public hearing.
So that's now we've moved on from consent agenda to just resolutions. So starting with 71, it's going to be public hearing and vote today. And they talk about these ones, everyone's individually, 71. Yeah. So, and then what was one we were just talking about? Oh, the climate action plan and the affordable housing action plan. So those are 2 separate, 74 and 75, public hearing and vote today. I don't imagine there's gonna be much opposition.
Larry, who knows what he'll fucking say, but yeah. We shall see in his little MAGA hat. Be like, I'm not sure if I believe in affordable.
Although,
are they gonna make my house affordable?
Can you believe how poor? I mean, that's the worst. That's the most poorly put together, resolution. Yeah. It's 2 sentences.
Yeah.
That last week, because they felt embarrassed that Lincoln already has a climate action plan, and people have been calling them out on it, that they need to decide to get one together, even they're going to say they've been working on it. But nonetheless, it's just like, there's no council people have done any research. There's no this, whereas Omaha, it's just, please.
Whereas Omaha's behind the times and we're attempting to get with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I will probably have something to say about that.
I'm going to speak on both. I'm going to speak on both of those items: the climate action plan and the housing.
Good. Any extra points that you don't have time to make? Let us know. We can always work them into our discussion as well.
And Larry usually leaves like halfway through, so I don't think he's going to be there at that point. He doesn't usually make it past consent agenda.
He can't hear in the afternoon.
Yeah,
he's always like, I don't know what you're saying between the masks and in the afternoon. I can't hear you. I don't know. Good times. All right. Then there's like a whole section that's a legislative package. So 76 through 88. Which one of these on here pisses me off, but we'll start at the top.
Only one.
Yeah, I guess. Let's be real. I guess the increase the cap in the turnback sales tax. So that's 76. 77, Amy Melton.
No. Go back to that, Sarah.
Tell me all about it, Mark. Let's talk.
It's insane. Like the turnback tax is what it's supposed to be used for is like economic development in distressed areas.
Yeah.
And so, but what I do want to, like Terrell McKinney he's on the turnbacks tax committee for the legislature. So I want to contact him and see what he believes, what he thinks on this. But I believe that he wouldn't be for it, because what it's saying is they're trying to change the law so that they can then use it for the renovation of the facility and construction of off-street parking. So instead of going to people and services, they're going to try and change the law so that they can then use it for parking funds, because the parking fund, we don't have enough parking funds, right, Sarah? Because cars are number one. Bow down.
Where are you seeing that?
So
I'm just seeing how it's that is the
right there,
attachment.
off-street parking.
This is huge. So we've got to contact him. He's got to be in agreement with us, because otherwise it goes to nonprofits or small entrepreneurs, like micro businesses. Like there's people apply for the funds, and then this committee of the legislature like approves and says, yes, this is a good use of it. But now they're trying to like go around it and say, we're going to usurp your power and use these funds that are supposed to be for
parking?
uplift. Yeah, for parking. Yeah.
Oh
So
my God. Okay.
no.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you that's the magic word.
Yeah, don't tell me about parking. I'll get real jazzed. Okay. Yeah, that's
But so we should contact the state senators and see what they think so that we come with firepower as opposed to just being
Yeah.
crazy people usually are.
yeah. Fair. Okay, I like that. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, 77, Amy Milton wants liquor license laws to bring private clubs under the bottle club statutes. I don't exactly know what that's going to do or have maybe strong feelings about it unless Mark tells me I should. What's going on with that? Know anything? There's not really much in the way of this attachment.
I feel like it'd be.
And I haven't researched what the bottle club was.
Generally is going to be targeting the strip clubs.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
The club, is that what it's still called?
I don't know. Club Omaha.
Club Omaha. Yeah, Club Omaha.
I think, didn't they rename themselves when they moved? I honestly can't keep up
No,
with it.
they opened up a I think it was a bar right next door that was no nudity but all liquor. But I think they got their liquor license denied. Club Infinity, I think is what it was called.
That might be it.
But no, there's still Club Omaha, 100 right by Nobby's, 120th and Center is where. Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess they're trying to. Okay. Interesting.
So I think it's BYO or it's a bottle. Yeah, I think that's what that.
Bring private clubs under the bottle club statutes. Okay. Interesting. Let's see. Oh, we see the lead abatement situations on almost every agenda. Number 78 is again part of this legislative package that would be appropriation to help the city obtain a federal lead paint abatement grant. Which we all know lead is bad. 79 is combating catalytic converter thefts. I don't understand how they're gonna again, there's not really that much information on the attachment, but apparently they're going to come up with a bill that's going to help stop catalytic converter thefts. I don't really know how that.
Lincoln very recently, within the last month, just put in a ordinance that makes it so that anybody who is in possession of a loose or detached catalytic converter has to have a certificate or basically a piece of paper from the government saying that you're allowed to have that catalytic converter, but it only costs $5. So obviously the point of it is to be able to arrest or ticket people who have loose catalytic converters on their possession.
Without the special.
Without having to prove that it's stolen.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
I guess so if we wanted to take our catalytic converter, pawn it for money, we could bring in our title. You're like, we took it off our own car. Yeah, as opposed to no paperwork. Just
I've
be like,
been hearing a lot.
I just found this catalytic converter.
Yeah. All right. Good enough. So
That's wild. So this one, Omaha we're taking this all the way to the state level. So this is a catalytic converter. Nicole's just saying that Lincoln did something in the city, but Omaha, we're going to go all the way to the state, make the state take care of it. Just wild.
Okay. Item 80 is another OPD situation, which is going to allow licensed mental health professionals to place a person into emergency protective custody in certain situations. I think that, there has been more of an effort with OPD to be working with mental health practitioners and professionals. So I don't know, I guess this will allow them to act as cops kind of and put people in custody. I don't know, kind of strange, but we shall see. 81 is about drone legislation to educate the public and help with public safety when operators of drones are present. That one also seems weird to me, but again, the attachment's kind of not very helpful.
Does it have anything to do with police? Because OPD just got a fairly new drone program about a month and a half or 2 months ago.
That is OPD.
Yeah, it is from the police, but I don't understand.
The OPD is requesting it. So it seems like it's still to educate the public
about
drones.
Yeah, and help with public safety when operators of drones are present. I just don't know what.
Yeah, I read about this in 1984.
I know we did a thing on it when they first, like the first day of their program launching. And the guy we spoke with got really offended that we were asking about potential privacy concerns and things like that.
Huh. Interesting. Great.
Hmm.
That'll be all of this, interesting to watch how it'll shake out and what it'll affect, and yeah, how much we'll regret it later. Okay, 84 is the one that I don't like, in addition to the parking situation now. Thanks, Mark. So 84, some of you have maybe been following what was happening with the Verizon pole at 55th and Poppleton. ModeShift did a Walk With Us event to highlight how it obstructs sidewalks, and then how they did a too little too late reroute of the sidewalk around this post into this property owner's yard. It took way too long. There was no communication. There was no ADA plan. There was no ADA timeline. It was just terrible on all the levels. And so we reached out and had actually Danny Begley and Senator John Kavanaugh come walk with us in this particular instance, and asked them to put some language together that would mandate an ADA plan approved ahead of time and a timeline and all that stuff. And so this bullshit on number 84 is basically just saying mandate better notice when they want to locate their facilities. It doesn't say anything about ADA. It doesn't say anything about timelines or anything. So I'm going to be following up about that.
And right now, as it stands, when Verizon or any wireless company, but Verizon specifically, wants to put a pole in your front yard, they do not have to tell you. If a liquor license is within 500 feet, they have to notify everyone within 500 feet. But if they put a pole in your front yard, they don't have to tell you. So this is going to do is they're going to be hey, we're putting a pole in your front yard.
Yeah, it's kind of.
And was it Begley that said the way the law is written, they could put the pole in the middle of the street if they wanted to. And so they're being nice by putting it in the middle of the sidewalk. But this number 84 on the agenda item, all it's going to do is to mandate better notice.
Yeah, and what is better notice even? I don't know.
I made a map a couple of weeks ago showing all of the permits for the monopoles. And I check it pretty regularly. There has not been any new permits since 9/8, so September 8th. So I don't know if they've gotten scared to be putting these poles up or what, but there hasn't been any new permits. There really hasn't been any. Dundee Bank was the last sort of
one that we watched that got messed up.
And so if any of you have seen the one in Dundee Bank, it's outside of Dundee Bank, and there's this really nice brick part of the sidewalk.
The Dundee Bank actually in Dundee, because now they have locations everywhere.
Okay,
but on Underwood.
And Verizon ripped up the brick, put their 5G pole, again, didn't tell Dundee Bank, which it's literally right in front of their building.
They messed up a bike rack.
They messed up the bike rack, and they didn't. They removed the brick and then poured cement where the brick was. I'm sure Festerson, because Festerson loves to talk about how he renovated Dundee and made it all fancy. And Verizon comes in and is like, "Fuck your fancy bricks. Yeah. Here's a pole." And the pole doesn't match. It's white. Or it's just hilarious how where's Pete when we need to put one of those thanks Pete stickers on the
Verizon pole.
On the Verizon pole. That's all him.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's number 84.
That's number 84.
I think people are going to talk about that.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, but I'm also surprised sometimes when no one talks about some of these things where it's this is a big deal. This affected a lot of people. A lot of people are really upset about it, and then no one, because once again, 2:00 on a Tuesday, not extremely accessible for most with jobs. How to be underemployed, like us. All right. 85 is Property Tax Request Acts, because I'm sure that has to do with the fact that everyone's leaving Nebraska because of the property taxes. I don't know what it's about, but we'll see. 86. I don't know what chapter 14 of the state statutes is. Does anybody?
I clicked on the attachment, didn't make any sense.
Yeah, the attachments are all worthless on these, it seems like.
I'll be like this one.
Yeah. So I don't really know.
Net neutrality, I think, is what I'm not sure if it was the number I just came back, but net neutrality possibly. If it's the one with Amy Melton and the two Democrats.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Thank you. 87 is for Landlord and Tenant Act, which again, I don't really know exactly what that's going to do, except for it's forcing landlords to comply with ordinances, which I feel like is going to be good. I don't know. But I think anything we can do to like be better for tenant rights is a good thing, because there's a lot of slumlords in Omaha. So maybe this will attempt to remedy some of those issues. And then number 88 is just saying that Jack Chiloha is our lobbyist, which he has been for a while, and he will continue to be. So that is the completion of the legislative package. And then on to ordinances on second reading. We are on number 89.
I've been looking forward to this one.
Okay, tell us all about it.
So this is the recyclables processing contract. And so last year is when we got into the kerfuffle where Nebraska land, it was a 10-year contract, 2 point something million. I remember it was like $20 million spread out over 10 years. And it ended up, it was pretty contentious. I feel like it went, was it 2 weeks? We talked about it. It was multiple weeks, I feel like.
Yeah, it was kind of a big one.
And it ended up not passing. And so now I think for the last year, we've been taking some to Nebraska land and some to First Star Fiber, which has been our recycler processor for decades. They're really great. First Star is a really great company versus Nebraska Land, which is a small company, doesn't have a website, doesn't have a phone number.
Owned by a football player.
Oh,
right?
that was a plausitive though.
Yeah, that was the only thing that, ooh, Husker. Yeah, exactly.
They're like, can you talk about Tom Osborne? What do you think about our split strategy or whatever? But anyway, so this time around, the contract, it's not even being debated. It's going to First Star Fiber because Nebraska Land, what's the actual, I had to find this quote.
They didn't submit their.
Nebraska Land failed to submit the required documents this time. And so a 2 point, or more than that, it's 2.5 million times
Annually,
5 years.
yeah.
So over $10 million, they did not submit the required documents on time. I just feel like they just, man. And so I know, so Palermo last year, Palermo did not vote for it, did not vote for Nebraska Land. It's in his district. He says that he checks on it almost every week. There has been multiple noise complaints. I think back in May, there was a video on the news of a truck unloading recyclables at 1:30 in the morning. And so a noise complaint, and they had video, and like the guy, the Lance Brown, had nothing to say. He's just like, yeah, we'll stop. Like, we're just gonna, we got caught. And I was actually researching, Bellevue was considering using Nebraska Land for the recycler, but they also went back to First Star Fiber. So yay, First Star Fiber. I think they're a better recycler processing. Remember, Veritas Group did that study. They just have all the high tech equipment. They're not in a residential area, which is Nebraska Land. It's in a residential area. Yes. So yes, that's number 80 something. 89.
Yeah.
That's the public hearing. They're going to vote on it next week. Unfortunately, usually when the public hearing, we can talk, but they don't talk. They wait to talk next week.
I feel like just in general, so many of the ways that this is structured sucks. It's like, I really don't like the ones where it's public hearing and vote on the same day, because like, what if you had a really compelling testimony? They don't have time to digest it or ask you questions, because obviously they could, but they never choose to. So many of these structures just seem so messed up to me.
Good ordinance.
All right.
So we're on 89. Yeah.
So 90 is a transportation service agreement with Black Hills Natural Gas for $3.6 million. And that one I also didn't have a chance to read too much into, but it has something to do with the Bellevue Gas Distribution Center or system. I don't know. Does anybody have anything to add on that one?
It's the Black Hills.
Yeah, I don't really.
Is that north?
What do you mean? Black Hills in general is, yeah.
Oh, but not in Omaha.
No, that's why I don't really understand this one. But it's a big chunk of money, so it always makes me kind of wonder what's going on. It was part of the capital improvement program. It's a project that was already in there. So I don't really know. But it is also located at the Papio Creek Water Resource Recovery Facility. I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of money and involves, at least it's Black Hills, Nebraska, I guess. I don't know. I guess it just seemed like a lot of money and I don't really know what it is. So just an agreement so that they can connect to, or we can connect to their system. All right. I think we're getting close to the end. 195 million in sewer bonds is number 95, which I feel like so much involves sewer money these days. But yeah, sanitary sewage system revenue refunding bonds. So
We skipped over this police money. I mean, there's always police money.
there's always police money. What is this one even for?
Yeah. Right at the end.
Oh,
that's-
the gunshot load. Yeah, the shot spotter situation. That was number
Oh, yeah.
94. Which yeah.
I sort of wish that shot spotter, I don't know if Nicole, if the news or if news media has access to shot spotter. I kind of wish that would be available to the public. The way I understand it works, they set up these little microphones on around Omaha, and when a gunshot goes off, they triangulate. They can say, okay, a gunshot just went off at such and such a block, but it's not publicly available. I know from like whenever we're sitting at home, we hear a pop, we're just like, was that a gunshot or firework? And I know that actually shot spotter cannot tell the difference. But I kind of wish that information was public. I don't even know I think it's just for the police. It's not like
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in most municipalities, they wind up managing to get it into their contract that it's, private information. They'll use safety as a reasoning, but most of them have a blue light on top of them. So honestly, if you go out and walk around, you can see where they are.
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh yeah, they're very noticeable.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a great service. I would like a map. I like to pull up my phone and be like, yes, that was gunfire, and that's where it came from.
You can
But-
tell them there's public hearing on Tuesday.
I understand
Tell
they
them
got,
about it.
yeah, they're keeping us safe by,
Keeping us in the dark.
yeah. It's better,
For our
it's better if you just
safety, yeah.
don't know, like,
Yeah.
don't.
One thing, Scott, with your skills, if you could map where every one of those is, because like the city doesn't spend, like there's none. I mean, they map it where the shots are, but nonetheless, that's like circular thinking. Anyway, like we're spending more money for the police. I mean, whatever. Anyway, it'd just be interesting to see map exactly where they are, because in certain neighborhoods, like there's one every few blocks. Like where, as far like you said, the triangulation, like as close as they need to be, and they are that close everywhere.
So I guess I would imagine there's more in North Omaha than West Omaha.
Really? You think?
Like, is that, yeah. One of the maps I think I've talked about before, I actually use an app, Flight Tracker. Whenever we hear a helicopter, it's just, you can go to Flight Tracker and it'll show you what's flying above you. Click on the helicopter and it'll tell you the tail or the helicopter number. And it says whatever OPD, it says it's a police helicopter, or sometimes it's a hospital. And usually the hospital ones, I'm like, cool. And usually the hospital ones are direct. They don't, with the OPD
Circle
one,
around.
circles and circles and circles. And so I would, it seems like a daunting task, but to make a map of all the times, or just all the flight patterns of the police helicopter, to show that it's noise pollution and it's traumatizing for people that have to live under
Constant surveillance.
this helicopter noise. That
It
one
is.
called the war machine. Yeah, these war
Yeah.
machines flying above. And again, I feel like even if I were to live next to a hospital, I'm sure there's people coming in all times of the night, but I'm glad those helicopters are there. But when a police helicopter is just circling and circling, and sometimes like they say the Twitter will say Able 1's going up. There's not a call.
Yeah.
Like there's not. Remember one time there was a
They
domestic.
just go up just to be on standby.
Yeah, and there was a domestic violence, a cutting, and Able 1 was above. And I'm like, what help is Able 1 going to have to do with a stabbing or a cutting, a domestic violence situation? Like they're just making things worse. And not only they're making it stressful for the people that are in the bad situation already, and all the neighbors. It's just like great. And then not only that, it seems to be disproportionately affecting these neighborhoods where it sounds like there's shot spotters every block and police helicopters.
I'd love to see the statistics of exactly how much, or like how many times Able 1 has assisted, because I know they go out every single day. I hear them every single day above me, but like that made the difference in a case, you know what I mean? And then break that down. Oh, there were 9 cases all year for a hit and run or this or that, because that's the thing, they do go after hit and runs. I live on 72nd Mill, or close to there, right near Benson Park, and there's a lot of altercations in Benson Park too. But they will send it out. If there's a fight at Benson Park, they will send the helicopter out, and then it circles around Benson Park for 15-20 minutes, and so that those guys can get their flight hours in, and that everybody knows that there's a police state.
I figured out how much. I think it's like $90 a minute. I remember I looked up some statistic how much it costs to operate a helicopter, and I would just think, wouldn't it be great as they're flying around, they're just throwing out like $20 bills, and maybe that would be like, then it'd be fun. Like, oh, I get to catch money from the police copter or something. But
I also think aside from noise pollution, just general pollution, like if we're just sending these things up into the air to just roll around without cause, I think that just seems like wasteful financially, and just sustainability issues.
From like the climate action plan.
Yeah. I'm just like, how much of I don't know. Again, the climate action plan will probably just tell us we're doing everything great, but now we have it on paper.
Did you see, speaking of climate action, did you see the connection between trying to get the balloon release banned from the Husker Stadium because of
helium is
helium, but also that it's not good for the environment?
Yeah, I know. I hate that balloon release.
I feel like that comes around every couple of years. Like, stop with the balloons already.
I feel like there's less now than there used to be.
Oh yeah,
but
less released.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a dumb
there's
thing.
That's because there's less touchdowns, and so.
Oh, sick burn, Mark.
Buzzinga. All right, good enough. So yeah, I feel like that is about it. Let me see our notes.
Yeah.
Oh, there is. Okay, so item 123, which is a non-action item, but it's another like $30 million for the riverfront. Did y'all see that?
It's literally the last page, or the second to last. It's the last item. Again, non-action, so they're not going to talk about it this week.
But they're just giving you a heads up that it will be happening.
So first reading, November 23rd.
Yeah, it doesn't even have an attachment yet.
So the first reading is going to be
this coming
November 23rd.
Well, I think it counts as the first reading when it's under the non-action items, just so it's like been presented to the public.
Oh, you're right.
Although there is not an attachment yet, but then the public hearing will be December 7th. But yeah,
I remember when the riverfront was being made and was like, you're spending $50 million, and Mayor Stother was like, that's private donations. So now we have on the city council agenda 30 million, and it sounds like it's refunding bonds. So I feel like it's just like, take 30 million here, we'll give you 50 million back. Heritage Services, you scratch my back, we scratch yours.
Anyway, yeah, there was a lot. We didn't dive into all of it, but yeah. Or you continue?
No, is that is literally
the last? In the legislative session. So.
Yeah. Wow. So 123 items. 120. Yeah, 23. That might be a new record.
So many.
Yeah. So it's going to be a long one. I think the news will be there. Hopefully, I feel like that always makes things more interesting when.
You always wonder what they're looking for. Like, do they think hopefully there will be a lot of support for the climate action plan. Like, I just can't wait to hear Larry's opposition to some shit. Actually, I can. I wish he would not be.
And also, I know the previous city councils, you're only allowed to speak 3 times. I feel like that rule's got to be thrown out. And also, Festerson doesn't really. He probably doesn't even know that's a rule. But I feel
I was thinking about testing that because Donnie Johnson spoke 4 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, were you here last week? I researched the Johnson Equestrian Center or Foundation. It's a real thing. I thought that guy kind of was
Making shit up.
and he actually did give 2 addresses, but the first address he gave is the Johnson Equestrian Foundation. It's a real thing. But yeah, he definitely.
I thought when he was talking, he was saying the questioning foundation, and I was like, okay, I have questions too. Like you made a questioning foundation, but equestrian foundation.
It's a real thing. Yeah.
Now we know.
All right. So is that it?
I think that's it. Anything to add, to share before we hit stop on the recording and we can hear all sorts of other fun things?
Yes.
Okay. Goodbye.